you're coming up on the first full month of the Trump administration. So what's the take on the American people? What do they want to see so far? Do they like what they see? I know who knows. Our friend Cliff Young from Ipsos is here in studio with me tonight with the latest round of polling. How you doing?
I'm great.
I mean, last time we had you in here was right on the cusp of the transition. Now we're getting a sense of where people stand so far.
Yeah, I think we know maybe for now where we are.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at some of the numbers that Cliff and his pollsters at Ipsos are pulling up. First of all, this is what people want to see the president focus on. First 100 days, that famous metric here.
Well, it's not shock and awe, right?
Right.
Yeah, what they're saying in first place is inflation, 35%. That's what Donald Trump won on. In second place, it's immigration at 30%. That's what the Republican base really wants. And then we just have a generic jobs and unifying the country. So it's really about the economy on the one hand and immigration on the other.
And clearly that was something that was a message that he put out in his first run, and this time around a lot more focus on that. And in the first couple of days of this administration, we started to see the movement on immigration.
Yeah, on immigration, we saw it internally, we saw it at the border, taking a lot of action. Obviously, the inflation issue is more problematic, the price of eggs, for instance, but the administration is focused on these key issues.
Okay, so approval ratings, every president has a honeymoon period out there. Are we still in this honeymoon period for President Trump?
We're still in the honeymoon period.
Yeah.
And
by the way, you never, I'm so used to not seeing approval ratings anywhere above water.
Yeah, we live in highly polarized times. Typically, the approval ratings, whether it's for Biden or Trump, are in the low 40s, high 30s. But we're at, high 40s right now for Trump at 49%. Yes, he's still in the honeymoon period, but he's holding steady. This is a good place. He can, mobilize the coalition, mobilize the base, and that's what he's doing.
But there still is a healthy disapproval, as you mentioned, how polarized things are. That's to be expected.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 country, right? 50% of the population, or almost 50%, didn't vote for him.
Well, so the other 3% here are more or less no opinion?
They're not paying attention.
Okay, well, there's that. That never happens in America. Hey, the president has signed a bunch of executive orders early on. They've run the gamut out there, and executive orders have been touchy. Republicans under President Biden said he was trying to dictate legislation by fiat here, but every president has that power of the pen.
Yeah, and they do it every new administration. They have a series of executive orders. We polled on a whole bunch of them, maybe about 30 or so. We just took we pinched a few here that we thought were most relevant. Let's focus initially on downsizing the federal government, because that's a huge theme with DOGE.
Yes.
61% of the American population is in favor of that. We have some other things, declassifying records related to the assassinations of JFK and MLK, for instance, creating a council to investigate political bias in FEMA. These are more sort of conspiratorial points, obviously. People, and many Americans want to sort of do that. But once again, let's emphasize the efficiency in the government.
Okay, let's go down way down here. 25% when it comes to renaming the Gulf of Mexico Gulf of America.
They want it, that is, Americans want it to be Gulf of Mexico, not Gulf of America.
But unless you're the Associated Press, then you.
Okay, but you have to, you're walking on eggs, but only 25% are in favor.
You don't want to walk on eggs. They're very expensive these days.
That's true.
Which brings us to our next point about the economy out there. People, look, we said this election was going to pivot on the economy out there. It still is a major concern for so many Americans.
Yeah, it's the economy, it's economy. Trump once again won on inflation, and that's the key issue. Now right here, we're kind of putting the, basically downsizing the government into contest efficiency. We see that a broad swath of Americans think that the system is rigged, do not sort of trust traditional parties and politicians. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, you believe that. And that's what's really driving a lot of what we're seeing today.
So on this one here, the 84% who say, 84% are Democrats who say the American economy is rigged to advantage the rich and powerful. Only 48% of Republicans, but calling the shots right now, at least when it comes to downsizing, is literally the richest man on earth.
Yes, I would say there's a bit of dissonance there, right? That's why we see 84% of Democrats saying that the economy is rigged, less so for Republicans. But once again, I think the broad-based sort of takeaway here, a large swath of Americans believe the system is broken.
Okay, but here's the thing. When it comes to the economy, when it comes to how people feel about the state of the federal government, it's always been too much bureaucracy, too much money spent on trivial things. That's what DOJ says that Ada is working on addressing out here. But what are people saying?
Yeah, what we wanted to show here, we're taking a long-term trend, right, since 1993, right? And here in the yellow, we have basically Americans saying they want less services and reduce taxes. That's basically the DOJ agenda. That's the more libertarian small government agenda. And the point we want to make here is it's always been here.
Sure.
It's always been part of America. It's always been a part of American DNA. It's just being channeled today by Trump.
And what I noticed when this spiked right here, this was the height of the Tea Party.
Yes,
2011,
exactly.
That's really when we saw that hit there. And then a lot of people forget that Bill Clinton and Al Gore back in 1993 said they were going to reinvent government as we know it. They were calling it REGO, much different time, because we're still here and we're still talking about it. And we'll always talk about these things with our friend Cliff Young joining us here on the Final Five. Good to see you again, man.
Great to see you.
We appreciate you very much. And we're back after this on your Final Five.